On Sunday Night Football, the Ravens beat Kansas City 36-35. And, geez, man, what an awesome game. Like, really fun to watch. You had two titans of the football world, Lamar Jackson against Patrick Mahomes. And if you're a football fan, it was kind of everything you could ask for in a Sunday Night Football game. Now, I want to talk about Lamar because Lamar had a rough start. He had 2 interceptions in the first quarter. Both of them, by the way, went to Tyrann Mathieu. One of them went for a pick six, his first one. Like, horrible way to start the game, by the way. A pick six, you're down a touchdown early on. And then he also had a miss early, deep down the middle to Hollywood Brown. Would have been a touchdown, but he threw an inaccurate pass. And so Lamar was just in a really bad spot early on in this game. And what I loved about this game was that Lamar bounced back. He found a way to turn an early start that sucked into a really good football game and ultimately one of his defining moments of his NFL career. Lamar finished with 239 yards passing and a touchdown. He also ran 16 times for 107 yards and 2 more touchdowns. Now, I will admit, Baltimore got some help from Kansas City. There was a throw. Mahomes had a really, really bad, costly interception in the third quarter where it's one of those plays where you got to eat it. He's getting tackled, falling to the ground, trying to force the ball into coverage. It's not really open. It's not there. And I know Patrick Mahomes has made all kinds of crazy plays in his career, so he gets a pass to kind of do whatever he wants and freedom to be creative and make mistakes and do this and that. But that was one of the worst interceptions he's thrown in his entire career, and one that I'm sure he would love to have back. And unfortunately, it led to a Ravens touchdown. And then later in the fourth quarter, the minute 20 left, the Ravens scored again to take a 36-35 lead. Now, Kansas City had an opportunity to put together a game-winning drive, but the running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, fumbled and gave the ball away. And that led to one of my, this really, really special moment, one of the key plays of this entire game, and this really incredible moment where the Ravens had the ball and a lead late. All they had to do was run out the clock. And I always say that if you want to beat Kansas City, you have to take risks. Especially, you have to go for it on fourth down. You cannot be conservative on fourth down. Well, the Ravens went for it on 4th and 1 on their own 43-yard line with 1:05 left in the fourth quarter and a 1-point lead. They went for it. And they didn't have to. They could have punted it away and said, hey, we're going to trust our defense to stop Patrick Mahomes. But I think we've seen over and over and over again how ill-fated that can be. People always, for some reason, give Patrick Mahomes the ball at the end of the game. And so they said, we're going to control our own destiny. Hey, in our own territory, 4th and 1. We're a team that runs the ball very, very effectively. This is our strength. We're going to run the ball on 4th and 1 and get this first down. And they did. The Ravens sealed the victory that way. And I loved it, man. One of my favorite plays of the year, just a team saying, we know what's expected of us. We know what we have to do. And we know the consequences if we don't succeed. And frankly, I think that no matter what happens, if you give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes in that situation where if you go for it on 4th and 1 and you get stopped, well, then Mahomes has the ball in your own territory. That's terrible, right? But isn't it equally bad to punt the ball away and still give the ball to Patrick Mahomes at the end of a game? Like, you're never guaranteed. The only way the Ravens were able to guarantee they would win that game was going for it on 4th and 1, and they did, and they got it. And man, I love that decision-making. That's fantastic football. That's what this is all about. And look, Lamar is not perfect. Nobody is. There will always be things that Lamar Jackson can work on and get better at. Although you can say that about literally any other quarterback in the entire NFL. But what I'm really getting tired of is people who look at Lamar Jackson and just say he's hot garbage. It's just totally wrong and totally just untrue. And I think people really need to start giving Lamar Jackson more respect. Anyone who's saying he's a bad quarterback, they just don't know football. I'm really tired of getting this win over Kansas City really legitimized Lamar Jackson for me, and hopefully a lot of other people will finally change their minds about Lamar. I remember when he was drafted, I was one of the idiots saying like, oh, I don't know if he's going to work in the NFL. And I own that. I live with that. But I think some people still are like, I've gotten used to, and part of one of the principles of my show is being willing to change my mind. When I get new information and I'm proven wrong, I own that and I admit that. And it's been very helpful throughout my entire life. Like if my fiance has an idea and I don't like it and then she proves me wrong, I just own it and say, you're right. And then I cave in and she gets her way. Like that's important. That's really in any aspect of life. You have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. You have to be able to apologize to people. You have to be able to like all that stuff. Like, you have to remove your ego and say, yeah, you know what? I got that one wrong, and bend the knee. And for some reason in our society, that isn't celebrated more often. People are, you have to stand by what you say forever. And if you ever admit you're wrong, you're somehow weak or stupid. But I think this is one example of people who, first of all, I don't really understand who's left that doesn't believe in Lamar Jackson. Like, I got it early on. He ran the ball. But Lamar has just changed football. Like, oh no, we've learned, hey, actually it works. You can run the ball and be an incredible running quarterback and succeed in the NFL. And, oh yeah, by the way, Lamar can also throw the ball too. So, first of all, the idea that Lamar can't win in the NFL is clearly being proven wrong every single week, every single year by him. And I just have to wonder if anybody left who's saying Lamar Jackson is bad or isn't going to work, is that people who maybe early on decided Lamar wasn't going to work and are just so set and stuck in their ways they can't admit that they were wrong and they can't change their mind? I just want to say, like, you have freedom to admit you're wrong. It's if anybody out there feels like they didn't believe in Lamar and then they pick that side and they feel stuck in the mud, like, it's okay to own that you got that one wrong. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets stuff wrong. And I really don't understand anybody left who still somehow finds a way to doubt Lamar Jackson or not believe in him or say that he's a bad quarterback, because it's just factually incorrect. And I love seeing the guy win. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. He's so easy to root for, but especially like the fact that he went, last in the first round of the NFL draft. A lot of people didn't believe in him as a quarterback, and if they only knew what he would become. If we could redraft the 2018 NFL draft, like, where would Lamar Jackson go a second time? He certainly would not be the last pick of the first round. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are wrong about Lamar. He's clearly a very effective quarterback who wins a lot in the NFL. He beat Kansas City for the first time ever in his career. Really, really happy for him. And I shift my focus to those people who still, for whatever reason, can't find a way to believe in him or admit that he's really, really good. And I wonder what's going on there. Like, why are people still so hesitant to admit that he's a great quarterback? Like, he does it differently. He runs the ball, like, really effectively. But that's a skill that nobody else in the NFL really has. Like, Kyler runs the ball really well. Russell Wilson can run around, but nobody runs the ball as well or as effectively as Lamar Jackson. And then his personality, his competitive nature. Like, I just find, when I look at Lamar, all I can find are reasons to like him and believe in him. And so there's a disconnect for anybody who doesn't believe in him. I just don't really understand. Like, I don't want to say you're an idiot. I don't want to listen to you, because I try to hear every perspective I can. But that's one where I'm like, man, like, what are we doing here? Like, how is anybody still a doubter of Lamar Jackson, especially after beating the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football? Like, it just, the argument is dead, and I can't listen to that anymore.